Michael wasn't just any janitor, he was the quiet guardian of Crescendo Academy, a music school famed for its rigorous training and prodigy-filled halls. He polished the brass of trumpets displayed in glass cases, mopped the echoing practice rooms, and emptied the wastebaskets overflowing with crumpled sheet music. He did his job diligently, always with a gentle smile for the students rushing by, their instrument cases bumping against their legs. But Michael harbored a secret, a melody trapped inside his heart. He loved music, truly loved it. Not just the polished performances on stage, but the raw, messy practice sessions, the passionate arguments about tempo, the quiet hum of a perfectly tuned instrument. He yearned to be a part of it, to let his own music flow. He taught himself to play the piano as a boy, on a battered old keyboard his grandmother had given him. He could lose himself for hours, his fingers stumbling at first, then gradually finding their way across the keys, coaxing out beautiful melodies. However, Michael was shy, almost painfully so. The thought of anyone hearing him play, especially the talented students at Crescendo, filled him with dread. He was just a janitor after all. What could he possibly offer to the world of music? So, he kept his talent hidden, a secret treasure locked away in the quiet corners of his heart. Crescendo Academy was a hive of activity, a constant symphony of sounds. The air vibrated with the scales of violins, the deep resonance of cellos, the bright trills of flutes, and the percussive thumps of pianos. Students, driven and ambitious, filled every corner of the building, their faces etched with concentration. The upcoming spring concert was the highlight of the academic year, a chance for the students to showcase their talents and impress the esteemed faculty and visiting patrons. Rehearsals were intense, practice rooms were booked solid, and the tension was palpable. Down the hallways, you could hear snippets of Bach fugues colliding with jazzy improvisations. A soprano's soaring voice echoed from an upper window, competing with the rhythmic tapping of a drumline practicing in the courtyard. Every room pulsed with music, a testament to the dedication and passion of the students. Even the cafeteria was a musical landscape. Students scribbled notes on napkins between bites, humming melodies under their breath. Discussions revolved around chord progressions and harmonic resolutions. The entire school was a living, breathing instrument, constantly being played and tuned in preparation for the grand performance. The spring concert loomed large, casting a shadow of excitement and pressure over everyone at Crescendo Academy. The grand concert hall was silent, a stark contrast to the vibrant chaos of the rest of Crescendo Academy. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. Michael pushed his cleaning cart inside, the squeak of its wheels the only sound. He began his routine, sweeping the polished floor and wiping down the velvet seats. But his gaze kept drifting towards the stage, towards the magnificent grand piano that sat there like a queen on her throne. It was a Steinway, gleaming black, its keys like ivory teeth. He knew he shouldn't. He had no right, but the pull was too strong to resist. He edged closer, his heart pounding in his chest. The piano seemed to beckon him, whispering promises of melodies and harmonies. He hesitated at the edge of the stage, his hand hovering in the air. He looked around nervously, making sure he was alone. Then, with a deep breath, he stepped onto the stage and approached the piano. His fingers trembled as he reached out and gently touched a single key. A clear, pure note rang out, filling the silent hall. It was a simple C, but it resonated within him, awakening something deep inside. He touched another key, then another, tentatively exploring the instrument's vast potential. He was lost in the music, if only for a moment. The brief moment of musical bliss shattered as the heavy doors of the concert hall swung open. A group of students strode in, their laughter echoing through the space. At the forefront was Ethan, a tall, impeccably dressed pianist known as much for his arrogance as for his talent. He was followed by two other students, clearly his admirers, who mirrored his every sneer. Ethan stopped dead in his tracks, his eyes widening in disbelief as he saw Michael standing at the piano. A cruel smile spread across his face. Well, he drawled, his voice dripping with sarcasm. What have we here? The janitor giving us a private concert? His companions snickered. Maybe he's going to sweep us away with his musical genius, one of them chimed in, earning another round of laughter. Ethan advanced towards Michael, his eyes narrowed. You know you're not allowed to touch that piano, right? It's for serious musicians, not cleaning staff. He gestured dismissively at Michael's uniform. Did you really think you could just come in here and start playing? The other students joined in the mockery, making comments about Michael's lack of talent and his audacity to even approach the instrument. Michael stood frozen, his face burning with shame. The joy he had felt only moments before was completely extinguished, replaced by a crushing wave of embarrassment. Michael's cheeks burned with shame. He mumbled an apology, his voice barely audible above the students' mocking laughter. He quickly backed away from the piano, his hands trembling. He felt like a child caught with his hand in a cookie jar, only the cookie was a dream and the jar was a grand piano. Without another word, he grabbed his cleaning cart and began pushing it towards the far side of the hall. He busied himself with wiping down the seats, scrubbing harder than necessary, trying to focus on the task at hand and block out the sound of the students' voices. He could feel their eyes on him, their laughter like tiny daggers piercing his skin. He kept his head down, avoiding eye contact, wishing he could disappear into the floor. He pretended not to hear their snide remarks, their sarcastic applause, their exaggerated pronouncements of his musical talent. He just wanted to finish his work and escape the concert hall, to find a quiet corner where he could lick his wounds and try to forget the humiliation he had just endured. The grand piano, once a symbol of beauty and inspiration, now seemed like a mocking reminder of his own inadequacy. He vowed never to touch it again. The music, for now, would remain locked away in his heart, a secret too painful to share. Later that day, a palpable sense of crisis gripped Mr. Thompson, the usually composed head of Crescendo Academy. His office, typically a haven of organized calm, was now strewn with sheet music and frantic phone messages. He paced back and forth, running a hand through his thinning hair. The spring concert, the culmination of months of hard work, was just days away and disaster had struck. Their star pianist, Julian, renowned for his mastery of Rachmaninoff's notoriously difficult piano Concerto No. 3, had fallen ill with a severe case of the flu. He was completely unable to perform. Mr. Thompson had invested so much in this concert. He had promised the board a performance that would solidify Crescendo's reputation as a leading music institution. Julian's performance was the centerpiece, the guaranteed showstopper. Now, with Julian sidelined, Mr. Thompson faced a daunting challenge. Replacing Julian with another pianist, especially on such short notice and with such a demanding piece, seemed nearly impossible. The pressure was immense, the stakes were high, and Mr. Thompson felt the weight of the entire academy resting on his shoulders. He needed a miracle, and he needed it fast. The success of the spring concert and perhaps even his job hung in the balance. Panic spread like wildfire through Crescendo Academy. Mr. Thompson, his face etched with worry, frantically began auditioning other students. He called in every pianist he could think of, hoping to find someone capable of tackling Rachmaninoff's third piano concerto on such short notice. One by one, the students attempted the piece, but none could master its complexities. Some were technically skilled but lacked the emotional depth required to convey the music's power. Others were too intimidated by the concerto's reputation to even attempt a full performance. Even Ethan, with all his arrogance and confidence, faltered. He played the notes accurately enough, but his rendition was cold and lifeless, devoid of the passion and feeling that the music demanded. He blamed the short notice, the pressure, anything but his own limitations. Some students simply refused to even try, claiming the piece was too difficult or that they didn't have enough time to prepare. The atmosphere in the concert hall became increasingly tense and discouraging. Mr. Thompson grew more and more desperate, realizing that his options were dwindling rapidly. The spring concert, once a source of pride and excitement, now seemed doomed to be a complete disaster. He felt like he was running out of time and running out of hope. Defeated and exhausted, Mr. Thompson slumped into a chair in the otherwise empty concert hall. He rubbed his temples, trying to stave off a headache. The sounds of failed auditions echoed in his mind. He closed his eyes, wishing he could simply make the problem disappear. Suddenly, he heard a faint humming. He opened his eyes and looked around. It was Michael, the janitor, quietly dusting the bookshelves at the back of the hall. He was humming the melody of Rachmaninoff's third piano concerto, and not just any part of it, but the most complex and challenging passage in the entire piece. Mr. Thompson sat up straight, his weariness momentarily forgotten. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. He'd been so focused on finding a talented pianist that he hadn't considered anyone else. He approached Michael cautiously, not wanting to startle him. "Michael," he said, his voice soft. Michael jumped, startled, and stopped humming immediately, his face flushed with embarrassment. "Oh, Mr. Thompson, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you were still here." "It's quite all right, Michael," Mr. Thompson replied. his eyes fixed on the janitor. "That piece you were humming. Do you know it?" He held his breath, waiting for Michael's response. Michael shuffled his feet, his eyes darting nervously around the hall. "Well, yes, sir," he stammered. I know it." Mr. Thompson raised an eyebrow, his skepticism evident. "You know Rachmaninoff's Third Piano Concerto?" Michael nodded, his voice barely a whisper. "I taught myself to play the piano, sir. I've always loved classical music. I've listened to that piece countless times." Mr. Thompson stared at Michael, a mixture of disbelief and desperation swirling within him. Could this be the answer to his prayers? A janitor, self-taught, knowing one of the most challenging piano concertos ever written? It seemed impossible. "You taught yourself?" Mr. Thompson repeated, his voice laced with doubt. "And you can play it?" Michael hesitated, remembering the earlier humiliation. I used to play, sir. But I'm not very good." Mr. Thompson sighed. He had nothing to lose. He was running out of time, and he was running out of options. "Michael," he said, his voice pleading now, "would you be willing to play it for me? Just a few bars? I need to hear it." He knew it was a long shot, but the desperation in his voice betrayed his hope. He was willing to grasp at any straw, even one as unlikely as this. Michael hesitated for a long moment, his mind racing. The memory of Ethan's scornful laughter flashed before his eyes. But Mr. Thompson's pleading expression and the desperate situation convinced him. He had to try. "All right, sir," he said, his voice trembling slightly. I'll play something." Mr. Thompson's face lit up with a flicker of hope. He gestured towards the piano. "Please, Michael. Just do your best." With hesitant steps, Michael walked towards the grand piano. His hands were clammy, his heart pounding in his chest. He sat down on the bench, his fingers hovering over the keys. He took a deep breath, trying to calm his nerves. Just then, the doors of the concert hall opened again. Ethan and his two companions sauntered in, their faces etched with boredom. When they saw Michael sitting at the piano, their expressions changed to disbelief, then to scorn. Ethan let out a harsh laugh. "You've got to be kidding me," he sneered. "Are you actually letting the janitor play now? This is getting ridiculous." His companions chuckled, their eyes rolling. They settled into seats in the front row, ready to witness what they assumed would be a complete disaster. Mr. Thompson shot them a warning glance, but they ignored him. They were convinced that Michael was about to make a fool of himself, and they weren't going to miss it. The stage was set for a moment that would either shock everyone or confirm their worst expectations. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and began. The first notes were hesitant, tentative, like a bird testing the air before taking flight. But as Michael's confidence grew, his fingers gained speed and precision. The music swelled, filling the concert hall with a power and beauty that no one expected. His fingers danced across the keys, a blur of motion as he navigated the complex passages of the Rachmaninoff concerto. The notes poured out of the piano, a torrent of sound that washed over everyone in the room. It was flawless, breathtaking. The music soared, dipped, and plunged, telling a story of passion, longing, and triumph. Michael's entire body seemed to be involved in the performance, his head swaying, his shoulders moving, his face reflecting the emotions of the music. The concert hall, moments before filled with scorn and skepticism, was now filled with awe. Mr. Thompson sat transfixed, his jaw dropped in astonishment. Ethan and his companions were frozen in their seats, their faces a mixture of disbelief and shock. They had come expecting a joke, but they were witnessing something truly extraordinary. The music spoke for itself, silencing all doubts and prejudices. Michael, the humble janitor, was playing like a virtuoso. The finality of each note hung in the air, a stark contrast to the vibrant sound that had just filled the hall. The students were completely speechless, stunned into an awed silence. The transformation was complete. The laughter and derision that had echoed moments before were replaced by an almost reverent quiet. Ethan's jaw hung open, his eyes wide with disbelief. The arrogant smirk that usually adorned his face was gone, replaced by an expression of utter shock. He couldn't believe that the janitor, the person he had so readily dismissed, possessed such extraordinary talent. His world, once so neatly divided into the talented and the untalented, had just been shattered. Mr. Thompson, on the other hand, was beaming with joy. His eyes sparkled with amazement and a wide smile stretched across his face. He had found his miracle. The spring concert was saved. He couldn't wait to tell everyone about Michael, the unassuming janitor who had the power to captivate an audience with his music. He felt a surge of relief and gratitude wash over him. He knew that he had witnessed something truly special, something that would forever change the atmosphere at Crescendo Academy. The silence was broken only by Mr. Thompson's quiet clapping, a sign of the thunderous applause that was about to come. The music wasn't just technically perfect. It was alive. Each note pulsed with raw emotion, a testament to Michael's deep connection to the piece. The concert hall seemed to breathe with the melody, every corner filled with the power and beauty of the music. His playing was a revelation. It wasn't just about hitting the right notes. It was about telling a story, about conveying the deepest emotions of the human heart. The music swelled and crashed like waves on a stormy sea, then softened into gentle whispers of hope and longing. There was a ferocious passion in his performance, a fire that burned brightly within him and illuminated every note he played. He poured his heart and soul into the music, channeling all his dreams, his frustrations, his joys, and his sorrows into the performance. The Rachmaninoff Concerto became a vehicle for Michael's self-expression, a way for him to communicate what words could not. The music spoke of his hidden talent, his unfulfilled dreams, and his unwavering love for the art. It was a confession, a declaration, a testament to the power of music to transform and uplift. The concert hall was no longer just a room. It was a vessel filled with the vibrant energy of Michael's soul, a symphony of emotions that resonated with everyone who listened. The power of his playing was undeniable, a force that could move mountains and melt even the coldest hearts. As the final note faded into silence, a beat of breathless anticipation hung in the air. Then the concert hall erupted in thunderous applause. The students, the faculty, even Ethan and his companions were on their feet, clapping and cheering wildly. The room vibrated with the energy of their appreciation. Michael, overwhelmed by the reaction, blushed and lowered his head. He had never experienced anything like this before. He had always played in solitude, his music a private conversation between him and the piano. To have his talent acknowledged, to be celebrated for his skill, was a dream come true. Mr. Thompson, his face beaming with pride, rushed to the stage and took Michael's hand. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, his voice ringing with excitement, "we have found our soloist for the spring concert." The applause intensified as Mr. Thompson turned to Michael. "Michael," he said, his voice filled with gratitude, "you were magnificent. You will perform Rachmaninoff's third piano concerto at the spring concert. The world needs to hear your talent." Michael's eyes widened in disbelief. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. He, a janitor, was going to perform on the grand stage of Crescendo Academy. It was a moment that would change his life forever. He looked out at the cheering crowd, his heart overflowing with joy and gratitude. The music, once a secret burden, was now his passport to a new world. As the excitement began to die down, Ethan made his way toward the stage, his head bowed in shame. The arrogant swagger that had defined him was gone, replaced by a hesitant humility. He pushed through the crowd of well-wishers, his eyes fixed on Michael. When he reached the stage, he stopped in front of Michael, his face flushed with embarrassment. "Michael," he said, his voice barely audible, I owe you an apology." Michael looked at him, surprised. He had expected anger or resentment, not remorse. "I was wrong," Ethan continued, his voice gaining strength. "I judged you unfairly. I mocked you for something I didn't understand. Your playing was incredible. I've never heard anything like it." He paused, taking a deep breath. "I'm truly sorry for the way I treated you." The other students who had participated in the mockery stood behind Ethan, their faces also filled with contrition. They nodded in agreement, silently acknowledging their own mistakes. Ethan extended his hand. "Can you forgive me?" he asked, his eyes pleading. The concert hall fell silent as everyone waited for Michael's response. The moment was heavy with the weight of past prejudices and the promise of future understanding. It was a turning point not just for Michael but for the entire academy. A gentle smile spread across Michael's face. He looked at Ethan, seeing not the arrogant student who had mocked him, but a young man who had learned a valuable lesson. He extended his hand and grasped Ethan's firmly. "Of course, I forgive you, Ethan," Michael said, his voice filled with sincerity. "Everyone makes mistakes. The important thing is that you've learned from it." The tension in the room dissolved as Michael's words filled the air. His gracious acceptance of Ethan's apology was a testament to his kind and forgiving nature. He held no grudges, no bitterness, only a genuine desire to move forward. Ethan's face broke into a relieved smile. He squeezed Michael's hand gratefully. "Thank you, Michael," he said. "That means a lot to me." The other students stepped forward and offered their apologies as well. Michael accepted each one with the same grace and humility, demonstrating his ability to rise above the negativity and embrace a spirit of understanding and reconciliation. The concert hall, once a battleground of prejudice and scorn, was now a place of healing and forgiveness. Michael's act of kindness had transformed the atmosphere, creating a sense of unity and respect that had been missing before. The incident had not only revealed Michael's talent but had also taught everyone a valuable lesson about humility, empathy, and the importance of looking beyond appearances. The academy would never be the same. The night of the spring concert arrived, filled with an electric anticipation that crackled in the air. The concert hall was packed, the audience buzzing with excitement. Word of Michael's extraordinary talent had spread like wildfire, and everyone was eager to witness his performance. Backstage, Michael, dressed in a borrowed suit that fit him surprisingly well, felt a nervous flutter in his stomach. He had practiced tirelessly for days, honing his skills and preparing himself for the biggest moment of his life. He peeked through the curtain, catching a glimpse of the expectant crowd. Mr. Thompson placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "You're ready, Michael," he said, his eyes filled with confidence. "Just go out there and play your heart out." As the lights dimmed and the conductor took his place, Michael took a deep breath and walked onto the stage. The moment he stepped into the spotlight, the audience erupted in a roaring ovation. The applause was deafening, a wave of appreciation that washed over him. He looked out at the sea of faces, seeing not just strangers, but friends, supporters, and believers. He saw Ethan and his companions in the front row, their faces filled with encouragement. He saw Mr. Thompson beaming with pride. And in that moment, all his fear and doubt vanished. He was ready. He was born for this. As the conductor raised his baton, a hush fell over the concert hall. Michael closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and let his fingers fall upon the keys. From the very first note, it was clear that this performance would be even more extraordinary than his audition. He played with a passion and brilliance that surpassed anything he had ever done before. The music poured out of him, a torrent of emotion and skill that captivated the entire audience. His fingers danced across the keys with effortless grace, navigating the complex passages of the Rachmaninoff concerto with breathtaking precision. The music soared and swooped, filling the hall with a kaleidoscope of sounds and emotions. He wasn't just playing the notes, he was living them. He poured his heart and soul into every phrase, conveying the depths of human experience through the language of music. The audience was spellbound, transported to another world by the power and beauty of his performance. They were no longer just listening to a janitor playing the piano, they were witnessing the birth of a star. Michael's talent shone brightly, illuminating the concert hall and inspiring everyone who was fortunate enough to be there. It was a performance that would be remembered for years to come, a testament to the transformative power of music and the boundless potential that lies within each of us. The spring concert was a resounding success, exceeding all expectations. Michael's performance was the highlight of the evening, earning him a standing ovation that lasted for several minutes. The audience cheered, applauded, and shouted his name. Their faces lit up with admiration and gratitude. The next day, Michael's story was everywhere. Newspapers, television stations, and websites all carried the news of the janitor, who had become a piano virtuoso overnight. He was interviewed, photographed, and celebrated as a symbol of hope and inspiration. He went from being an anonymous figure in the background to a household name. People magazine ran a cover story about him, calling him the accidental maestro. He received invitations to perform at prestigious concert halls around the world. Crescendo Academy, once known for its rigorous training and talented students, was now famous for something more: its heart. The story of Michael's triumph over adversity resonated with people from all walks of life, proving that talent can be found in the most unexpected places and that dreams can come true, no matter your background. Michael became an overnight sensation, his life forever changed by the power of music and the courage to share his gift with the world. Michael embraced his newfound fame with grace and humility, determined to use his platform to inspire others. He traveled the world, performing in prestigious concert halls and sharing his story with audiences of all ages. He spoke passionately about the importance of following your dreams, no matter your background or circumstances. He encouraged people to believe in themselves, to never give up on their passions, and to always strive for excellence. He also became a vocal advocate for arts education, emphasizing the transformative power of music and the importance of providing opportunities for all children to explore their creative potential. To further this cause, Michael established a scholarship fund for underprivileged students at Crescendo Academy. He wanted to ensure that talented young musicians, regardless of their financial situation, would have the chance to pursue their dreams. The scholarship fund quickly became a resounding success, attracting donations from around the world. It provided tuition assistance, instrument rentals, and mentorship opportunities for countless students, helping them to unlock their potential and achieve their goals. Michael's generosity and dedication to inspiring others cemented his legacy as not just a talented musician but a true humanitarian. He showed the world that even the humblest beginnings can lead to extraordinary achievements and that true success lies in using your gifts to make a difference in the lives of others. Despite his global fame and success, Michael never forgot his roots. He continued to work as a janitor at Crescendo Academy, finding comfort and purpose in his familiar routine. He enjoyed the quiet solitude of cleaning, the satisfaction of making things tidy and orderly. He balanced his janitorial duties with his burgeoning music career, traveling the world to perform and inspire, then returning to Crescendo to sweep the floors and empty the trash. He saw no contradiction in his dual roles. He was both a world-renowned pianist and a humble janitor, and he embraced both identities with equal pride. He often said that his time as a janitor kept him grounded and reminded him of the importance of hard work and perseverance. It also allowed him to stay connected to the students and faculty at Crescendo, to offer them encouragement and support, and to serve as a living example of what is possible with talent, dedication, and a little bit of luck. And so, the story of Michael, the janitor who became a piano virtuoso, became a legend at Crescendo Academy and beyond. He continued to change lives through his music, his generosity, and his unwavering belief in the power of dreams. He proved that it's not where you come from that matters, but where you're going and what you do along the way. His tale continues to inspire.